what did they call it? Legitimate political discourse. And we all think we're taking crazy pills. There you are out there every day. You tweeted, "Dear GOP chairwoman and GOP leader, do you believe abducting Officer Mike Fanone and driving a stun gun into his neck, as the GOP called the January 6th insurrection, legitimate political discourse?" Thank you. I mean, I hate to say it, but they've handed us a huge political gift with this, haven't they?
Absolutely. The overwhelming majority of Americans watched and saw what happened on January 6th. They saw it was an attack on our nation's capital. They saw that 140 police officers were assaulted, and they understand that it was a riot. It was an insurrection. They were trying to keep the former president in power illegitimately. And when the Republican National Committee calls that legitimate political discourse, that really puts them at the fringe of mainstream America.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. By the way, you were also talking about Greg Sargent tweeted, "The important point is that Trump was repeatedly told he was breaking the law in terms of just the records part of this. Yet he continued to do it." And you say, as the legislative branch, Congress does not enforce laws. The Justice Department enforces federal law. But when one person continues to get away with being above the law, that is deeply corrosive to our government and to the Department of Justice. I mean, Congressman, as a prosecutor, what is your take on Merrick Garland and the Justice Department and what they are doing or not doing and the speed of it?
So not even just as a prosecutor, but just as an ordinary American, we either believe that no one's above the law or we don't. And if you have someone who consistently breaks the law and nothing happens, then that sends a very bad message to the rest of America. And it's very corrosive to our government and also to the Department of Justice. The January 6th Committee is doing a fabulous job exposing all the wrongdoings of the former president and his enablers. And I really do hope the Department of Justice looks at their work seriously. And if there are violations of the federal laws, then I would expect the department to prosecute those violations.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think they are doing great work. But as you say, they're not a prosecutorial body. I mean, Fani Willis, the prosecutor in Georgia, God bless her, but, she has a local department, as you know, with local resources. I don't know what you want to call it. It should be a huge federal prosecution, right? Whether it's the fake electors. Georgia's only a small part of this whole picture, right? Of overthrow of the government and insurrection and so on.
That's right. Now, I wouldn't say Georgia is a small part. I think it's actually a pretty important part.
Yeah.
And the prosecutor in Georgia did disclose they're going to be basically sending out subpoenas in a few months, which is, I think, good news that their investigation is continuing. And as you know, the former president specifically called up the Secretary of State of Georgia and told him to find a little over 11,000 some votes so that Trump could illegitimately win a state that he had lost. But the Department of Justice, as you point out, does have a vast amount of resources, and they have to learn from the Mueller investigation. I believe Mueller failed. He was charged with investigating, and he is a prosecutor. And if you believe that federal crimes were committed, if you read his report, it's pretty clear he believed that, he sure charged those crimes, particularly the obstruction of justice, where he laid out basically enough evidence that any rational prosecutor would have charged those crimes.
Well, as Glenn Kirshner, our friend, always tells us, someone's got to take the maiden legal voyage. And at least, God bless Fani Willis, she's the first one that has said Trump is under criminal investigation. At least that much. You don't have to give away what's happening in the investigation because I think you're right, Congressman. There's so much happening out in the open that is leading people to believe that there's no laws that apply to him.
That's exactly right. And look, we shouldn't treat the former president as if he were guilty. He is presumably innocent. However, if evidence shows that he violated federal law, then he should be treated just like any other American who violated federal law and be investigated. And if, in fact, the violations happen, then he should be prosecuted.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the January 6th committee. So Trump was in the Oval Office with his daughter, Ivanka, and Pence's national security advisor on the morning of the 6th when he made another push to pressure Pence. He said, "You don't have the courage to make a hard decision." He called Pence a wimp. Pence rebuffed the demand. When the call ended, Ivanka Trump turned to Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg and said, "Mike Pence is a good man." Kellogg said, "Yes, he is." Now the House committee wants to know what else Ivanka Trump heard and saw that day. One of the representatives said Ivanka Trump has details about what occurred in the lead up to and on January 6th about the former president's state of mind as events unfolded. We've got to put a stop, don't we, Congressman? As a former prosecutor, we got to put a stop to people thinking subpoenas are just optional, and they have no, they're like a party invitation, and they have no duty to the American people to tell the truth.
That's correct, and that's why I have legislation that every day is getting more and more co-authors that would allow the House of Representatives to execute what's called our inherent contempt power. That is a power the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld, which will allow us to enforce our own subpoenas through actions such as either fines or incarceration.
Yeah, no, and again, applause to you for that. Let's just talk about in general. You tweeted more jobs and higher wages equals good. Assaulting police officers on January 6th with baseball bats and bear spray equals bad. The contrast between Democrats and Republicans could not be clearer. Democrats are fighting for the people. The RNC is fighting for the rioters. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of the mainstream media telling me that the midterms have already happened and Democrats have already lost. Right? I mean, it's just, it seems like you look at this economy, as you say, the Biden boom and the American Rescue Plan have resulted in massive job growth. You just can't dispute the numbers of Biden's record, can you?
You're going to see a comeback America sort of, I think, theme and message happening over the next few months. And you're absolutely right. Under the Biden administration, we created 7 million jobs in 12 months, the most in U.S. history. And you're going to see really the infrastructure law and the American Rescue Plan and all the benefits that flow from those two laws really pumping up this economy even more. And so I think by the fall of this year, the American people are going to look at the situation and realize that they're in a better place now than they were 2 years ago.
Congressman, what are the chances of getting even parts of Build Back Better or voting rights done before the midterms? What do you think?
So with Build Back Better, the House passed a fabulous, amazing bill.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Senate was unable to pass it. However, I believe we can pass a slimmed down version of Build Back Better. There are a number of provisions in there. For example, the prescription drug provision actually has bipartisan support.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get that through. There are a number of very popular programs in there for workforce training, for example, to help with elder care and a number of other amazing environmental provisions. So I think we have a chance of passing a slimmed down version. And then what we see in terms of senators to change their views on the filibuster. However, the best way to prevail on voting rights is to elect 2 more Democratic U.S. senators. And there's more than enough U.S. senators that are up this November in swing states that we could absolutely add 2 more Democratic U.S. senators.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask you, I know to ask anybody what's up with Joe Manchin, nobody knows the answer to that. But, didn't he just say the other day, like his offer that was on the table about Build Back Better, he goes, oh, well, that's off the table now. I mean, why? Except for petulance. Why? I don't understand. You just talked about a slim down, Build Back Better. It's just impossible to know what he and Sinema want given day to day, right? I mean, there's so, as you say, there's so many pieces of this that he seems to support. It's like, well, why take your ball and go home? Why not go, okay, you had this offer on the table, let's start from there. But it just, how do you negotiate with that?
It is difficult to negotiate with folks who say different things on different weeks.
Yeah.
I think maybe we just call the bill something else.
Yeah. Well, let's just call it whatever Joe Manchin wants, Bill. How about that?
Exactly. The West Virginia is awesome, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Pardon me. That's fine. Yes, I'm fine with that. Let's just call it Joe Manchin's awesome. Okay. Representative, you give me hope for America and for our democracy. Keep on fighting the good fight. Thanks for taking time for us.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right. See you next time.
Thanks.